The software development process. Now you know that which steps you have to follow. Sorry, you know the principles you have to follow while developing a software. Now, you may also know the process. Now, you might think, what is the process of creating a software? What steps should I follow while developing a software? So, this is what SDLC says, Software Developmental Life Cycle. Means the cycle that every software developer follows while developing a software. The first phase is the plan. You plan the software. Means what is in planning phase, you gather the requirement, you analyze that what requirements I need, what logic should I follow, in how much time I will complete the software. So in the first step, you have to plan your software. Thus, in the second step, you have to analyze whether I can complete this software or not, whether this is possible to create such kind of a software or not. For example, you get a client that says that develop a software for my business that can keep the track of my stock level, that can also register the new client, that can also secure the history of my previous sales, that can also be verify the unauthorized user. So these are all the functionalities they want from you. Firstly, you will plan that I need these requirements, this in this time I will complete it. This will be my budget for completing this specific software. In this second phase, you will analyze whether this is possible to create such kind of solution or not. If it is possible, then what kind of logic should I follow? If this is all what you do in your analysis phase. If it is possible, you will say yes to your client that I will do that. If it is not, you will stop the development of that software at this phase and say that, sorry, I cannot complete this. This is not possible to create such kind of solutions. Then, for example, you complete your analysis phase. The third one is the designing phase. Now your planning is complete. You have analyzed that I can do that. In the third phase, you will design the software. Means you will visualize that how it will look like. You will create different prototypes, different drafts of that software, different diagrams of that software, how it will look like. After designing that software, you have also designed the software, you have developed the flowchart diagrams, the UML diagram, the use case diagrams. You have completed all that. The fourth step is to develop the software. Means the actual code that you have to write for it. The front-end code, the back-end code, whatever it is, you have added the functionality. The fifth one is the implementation or the deployment. When you actually run that application, if it is a Android application, you will launch it to the Google Play Store, or if it is a website, you will transfer that website from the local server to the main server. You will buy a domain name, hosting for that certain website. And then the last is the maintenance phase that you do after delivering your software. Means you will give updates to your client if there is any bug in the previous version of your software. So these are the 6 steps that we follow while developing the software. In other words, it is known as SDLC, the software development life cycle, that you have to follow while creating your softwares. Okay, so that is very important. SDLC, it is mostly commonly asked question in any kind of examinations or whether in your interviews. So you might have a good understanding about software development process. So in the initial phase, you will gather your requirement, as I said, like you will collaborate with your stakeholders. Now, in software industry, stakeholder term is used for your clients, for your end users. Stakeholders might include your clients. It can be your end user. It can be the developers, your co-workers. It can be your project manager. Your stakeholder can be the investor. Okay. Then in the first step, you will gather all the requirements that you will need for completing that software. Then in the second phase, you will design your software like the system architecture, what is the structure, what are the necessary algorithms you need to meet that requirement. Then third, you will implement, as I mentioned, that you will write the code of that. After that, you will test the software. You perform different series of steps. We have different types of testing that we will learn in this course. Okay. And then after that, we will deploy that software. Then after deployment, we will maintain them. Now that was the software developmental process. Now you know about what principles you have to follow while developing your software. Then after the principles, you must also know the steps like the software process, the SDLC. Now the third one is the software development management. Means how we will manage the development of our software. It might include the planning of your software. It might include the execution of your software, how you're going to deliver your software projects, the timeline, the budget, your stakeholders' expectations from your software and from you. Who will be your project manager? Who will be your software engineer? Who will be the tester? So these are all the things that you have to manage in software development. Okay. So the first point in our software management is project planning and scheduling. So this is done by the project manager that have to define the goal of your project. Means the purpose. What is the aim behind completing that software? The project manager will set the timeline that within the 6 months, we have to complete a software. Within this time period, we have to complete this software. It might create details, project plans, allocating resources like how much time, resources can be the budget, resources can be your system, anything. Okay. Then they also have to track the progress, whether the project is going towards the completion or not. Then the team leadership and management. Now here the manager will lead and motivate the teams of software engineers. Means they will motivate them that they have to complete the project on time. They will guide them. For example, a software developer might stuck at some point. They cannot complete that due to some reason. So you may motivate them. You may guide them, do this to complete this software in this way. Okay. Then we have resource management. Means resource can be the personal resources, it can be the budget, it can be the gadgets, the IT gadgets that they want. That might include different kind of, this is what we have to manage in project planning and scheduling. Then as the, if you are leading as your team leader, then you have to lead or motivate your team. You have to manage the resources among your team, whether it can be the budget, it can be the resources. You also know how to manage the risk. Means you have to identify the uncertainties that can delay your project, that can have a specific impact on your project's success. So you will have a specific plan to deal with it. For example, there can be a risk of a server failure. Then, in the case of a server failure, what will you do? Do you have a backup plan for that or not? That is all you manage in your risk management. Then, quality assurance and testing means you have to ensure that the quality of your software is according to the client's expectation. You will might take a series of tests like alpha testing, beta testing, integration testing, unit testing. There are multiple testing. We will also see different types of testing in this subject just to assure the quality of your software. Then the stakeholder communication means how you will communicate with your team, with your client. Maybe you schedule different meetings. In how many meetings you will take in a single month with your clients, with your team members. Okay. After that, we have software development models here. And the last one in the software management, development management is the continuous improvement. Means you will keep on improving your software while updating the version or motivating your team members or hiring new professionals in your team. Now, we have another very important term in software engineering is the software process models. We have different types of process models that you have to select while developing a specific software. Okay, so that is very important to select a software model. The first one is the waterfall model. It is the most oldest one and most straightforward. So this is a traditional waterfall model. If you remember, I told you about some steps in SDLC that you must have to follow. That says that you will first analyze, you will design, you will implement, test, and maintain the software. These are that specific ones. The waterfall model says that if you have analyzed the software first, then you have to jump to the next step here on design. But if you are already on design, you cannot go back. For example, you have analyzed something that yes, I can do that. So you start designing the software. But after some time, you think I cannot do that. I have to rethink it again. So you cannot go back. So that is the waterfall model that a waterfall model says. You will not go back if you have already completed a step. Means you have complete your analysis phase. You have to start your design phase. You cannot go back to analysis phase again. Then you will implement, then you will test, and you will maintain. After completing these steps, then you are able to go back. So that is the traditional and cheapest model that says that. Just like if we take a real world example, you have completed your examination. Exam paper you have completed. But after coming out of the exam hall, you forget, you might thought that I forget to answer a specific question. Can you go back to examination hall and ask your invigilator to return your exam paper to rewrite that question? No. Similarly, the waterfall model works. If you have completed one phase, you cannot go back. to complete that specific phase. So that was the biggest drawback of waterfall model. But in that early days, there was no other model. So mostly the software developers have to follow that waterfall model. Then the second one is the V model. That is the extension of that waterfall model. It looks like this. That was a bit better than waterfall model. It says that while you are performing your verification phase, you can also follow your validation phase. Now we have two terms in software engineering: verification and validation. Verification says that you check, I have making the product right. Means I am following the right steps and they are going very good, and the final product is according to the expected logic. The validation says that that product is according to the client's requirement. So that is a difference between verification and validation. It says that while you are designing your requirement, you also do the acceptance test. While you are designing your system, you also test that system. While you are designing the architecture, you also test the integration. Integration means whether you want to include a third-party library or any API, you will also test that. If you're designing these specific modules means you will add a specific functionality into a specific piece of block. That will be your first module, the second module. You also perform the unit testing, means whether that module is working well or not. And after doing all this, you will write your final work. That is the traditional V mode. Okay. So it was also good, but there was a drawback that you have to work in the parallel manner. Like you also have, when you are designing the requirements, you also have to do the acceptance testing. While you are designing the system, you also have to test that system. So that is the drawback of using it. After that, we have the structured analysis and design work. Now it says that you should emphasis on the structure technique, like how you will gather your requirement, what will be your system design, how you are going to implement. Means the flow of your software, you must be there. How will be your ER diagrams, entity relationship diagram. These terms might be new for you, like the ER diagrams, the flow diagrams. But don't worry, in this subject, later on, we will study all of these diagrams one by one. Then after that, we have rapid application development. That says that focus on prototype and on quick feedback cycle, like this. It says that what is prototype? Prototype means the rough design of your software. Just like before designing the or implementing the actual functionality, you draw a rough sketch of something. Similarly, this software model says that complete your software in the form of modules. Like first of all, you will business the model, then the data modeling, then the process application, one by one, in the forms of prototype. Then you may give that prototype to your project manager. If it is acceptable, then start working on the next one. Then we have the incremental model. Means here you divide the software in the form of small modules. Like in the first module, you will design a specific, you will gather the requirement. For example, you are building a school management system. So in the first build, you have to build the attendance system. So you gather the requirement for that, you design that attendance system, you write a code for that, you test that and deliver. Then in the second module, you have to develop a online fee deposit system. So you will gather the requirement for that, you design that, you code, you test and build. Then in the third step, you might think that I also have to add the student record in that. I have to register new students. So you gather the requirement, design, code, and test. So incremental model says that divide your program into smaller modules and then in the incremental form, like deliver the first module, then build the second, then build the third. In this form, you will deliver your complete software. Okay. Then we have a prototype model that says that you develop a prototype, means the rough design or a beta version. Here is a short assignment for you. After the ending of this class, you have to go on Play Store or Apple Store and you have to search for a specific app. While searching for a specific app, you will, when you scroll down, you might notice if they are working for another version, there is an option beta version is available. Join this to test our new features. So that is a sort of prototype. So you test that version. If it is good, according to that, you will give feedback to them. If the feedback is positive, then they will release the actual version. If not, they keep on improving until it is accepted by the customers. So that is the prototype model. Okay. So in today's lecture, we have studied about what is software, what are different software engineering principles, what is software engineering. Then we studied the SDLC, the software developmental life cycle. We study about how to manage the software developmental process. Then we study about different software models. These software models are very important. You might get different questions in interviews or exams about them. So if you have any questions till now, let me know. Okay, then that was all about today's lecture. Don't forget to do your short assignment that I have assigned you.